If you've been playing Brawlhalla for a decent amount of time, chances are you've been around for a patch note. And in these patch notes, Brawlhalla can do different things. Weapons and characters can get nerfed, weapons and characters can get buffed, and sometimes Brawlhalla will even go the extra mile and rework a weapon completely, changing it fundamentally. But what if I told you that a common issue or problem in Brawlhalla is that Brawlhalla will either nerf or buff something, and then a few years later they will re-add the exact same nerf and buff. There have been multiple true combos in Brawlhalla over the course of time that have been true, and then made untrue, and then made true again. An example of this would be mrchompeeyt and Hammer, which has changed multiple times over the course of Brawlhalla's lifetime. Or Guitar's bread and butter of Sidelight and D-Light, which has also changed multiple times. Not to mention when Brawlhalla adds a weapon or when a weapon gets put in a very broken state, Brawlhalla seems to put the weapon back in that state when the weapon never falls in meta again. Which is overall confusing because don't you think that Brawlhalla will actually learn from their mistakes and not repeat the exact same mistakes? When Onyx was coming out, Canon was in a really good spot to where you could pretty much get a 0 to death off of one read. In the modern day, you can get a 0 to death pretty much off of one read on Canon again. And I just find it very interesting that the weapon has the exact same problem it did about a good 3 or 4 years ago now, in modern day. And even in literally the most recent patch note, Brawlhalla re-added a feature that used to be on blasters a long time ago, which is where D-Light on blasters covers the more front range of you, so which makes it harder for your opponent to actually be able to jump in your face, and they have to respect the frames more. Not to mention Brawlhalla's weird way of doing patches. If something is not abused in a tournament, it will last for way longer than if it is abused in tournament. And while Brawlhalla should mainly focus on tournaments for patches, it can also be somewhat confusing sometimes. When Samsung was abusing Arcadia earlier this year and was using her greatsword down sig, Arcadia's down sigs immediately got nerfed in the following patch. But if something is only hurting the community side of Brawlhalla, that sig will be taken care of slower. And if you've been recently watching my videos, you know that Brawlhalla has been struggling to manage the player base of casuals and pros at the same time. But don't get me wrong, Brawlhalla also has very good additions in patch notes. When we got character sig reworks, that was one of the best things Brawlhalla ever added because it revives older legends when we have extreme power creep going on, especially with characters like 7, who literally has 9 sigs. Not to mention Brawlhalla reworked canon entirely based off community feedback and or based off community feedback. So I'm not going to say like Brawlhalla doesn't necessarily listen. I would just overall prefer if Brawlhalla just learned from their mistakes in buffing and nerfing, and it managed to just make weapons overall not have to repeat a process they were already in. And then it feels like there's some people, especially if you've been in the player base for a long time, that certain things just get rotated out to make weapons weaker or stronger over the course of time. Because then it feels like less of a balanced patch and more of this Brawlhalla deciding what gets time to shine next. And this is another problem that Brawlhalla patch notes face when the characters that don't get a lot of playtime get buffs on top of buffs over and over again. Because even though a character has a low play rate does not necessarily mean they're bad, and this has recently happened with characters like Dusk. In my honest opinion, as long as Brawlhalla keeps on doing sig reworks for legend characters and listen to the Brawlhalla community of not only the casuals but also the competitive players, equally of course, Brawlhalla patches will gather more excitement and hype. But overall guys, that's the video. What is your opinion on this? Do you guys feel like Brawlhalla keeps on recycling the same things over and over, or am I just crazy? Until next time guys, peace out.